I was 11, just days shy of turning 12. My grandma, she of blackberries and stewed tomatoes, could not be gone. I wish I could say that the days that followed were a blur, but they were not. I remember them in painstaking detail. My senses were sharp, almost as if they were on high alert. A world that had once been safe no longer was. I remember my dad driving us home, the greasy smell of my mother cooking an egg for my little sister, extended family coming to be with us, the friends and relatives crowding into Blair Lowther's funeral home, the bizarre ritual of them silently filing in front of my grandma's body. Of course, there was plenty of activity. It wasn't as if these days happened in slow motion, despite my heightened senses. The adults had plenty to do, make arrangements and order flowers and cook food, the work that kept their grief at bay for at least a while. But as a child, there was little I could do. Nothing to do but endure. Sitting in the funeral home on one of 100 identically upholstered chairs, I looked at the flowers that surrounded her casket. They were beautiful in their own way, I supposed, but they seemed so unlike her. This woman spent her days outside, not indoors. This woman had gardened and foraged and grown up on the mountain. This woman's hands were rough and worn from a lifetime of good work. Greenhouse flowers seemed too civilized somehow, domesticated and tame. And I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to gather flowers for her. If it had been a few months later, I'd have collected wild daisies, ironweed, yarrow, and Queen Anne's lace. But it was early March, and the fields and the woods had not yet blossomed, except in one place. I remembered the crocuses I passed beside the crooked sidewalk. Just days before, they'd popped their heads up to alert us that spring was coming, but not before winter had struck one final blow and had stolen my blackberry grandmother away. When we returned home between viewings, I picked the crocuses. There weren't many, but there were enough. A few solid purple ones, one variegated white and purple, all with bright yellow-orange centers. I wrapped a ribbon around them as best I could, careful not to crush the fragile stems, and put them in the refrigerator to keep their delicate petals from wilting. When we returned later to the funeral home, my aunt, the same one who would one day advise me to marry a doctor, walked me to the casket. Standing before my grandma, I could almost believe that I could see her chest rising and falling. Maybe it was all a mistake. Maybe, but it wasn't. And there was nothing left to do for her except place my offering of crocuses in her stiff hands. There was nothing left to do. Nothing except the small gesture of hope that one day spring would come for her again.